Gen Z is, in their early 20s now. So they're in adulthood. Gen A are the young kids that are born today that are, I guess it's like 14 and under or 12 and under, whatever the number is. And these kids are headed into that world, but worse than Gen Z because they really are part of a generation that has no isolation and doesn't know any life outside of technology. Gen Z, their parents are Gen X. Gen X grew up in the 80s and, that whole decade of pre-technology for the most part. Obviously, they had computers, they had things like that, but they didn't have cell phones in their pocket. So they're used to parents who are not part of that whole technology world. And Gen A is not going to experience that because the millennial parents pretty much grew up with technology our whole existence. I'm the older millennial generation. I am part of the earlier wave that grew up in a time where we didn't have cell phones for a while, for most of our adolescence. We didn't have, we had a family computer, but it was just one computer in a room at a desk that you would have to go to. And when you weren't at that desk on the computer, you were out doing other stuff without technology. We wanted to make a phone call. We had to go to a friend's house and pick up their phone and call our parents for whatever reason or call somebody else. Or we actually used to have to go to a payphone on the street. When I was growing up, there were a lot of payphones on the streets. They're not there anymore, but I remember making phone calls from payphones. So I still remember that time when we were pre-technology being 100% in our lives. My wave of millennials, children, Gen A, are going to experience the last set of parents who didn't grow up with technology. But the younger millennials who are having kids now, their kids are Gen A. Their parents had grown up with technology their whole lives, and their kids are going to grow up with technology even more because it's so advanced now with AI, robotics, and all this other stuff. And their parents are going to relate to them more than to a life without technology because they grew up with it too. It's going to get really difficult. I foresee this being a huge issue in society that is going to have to be resolved to some degree with government legislation, but it's also going to have to be resolved where, groups of parents and generations of parents as a whole have to come to an agreement as to how they're going to raise the next generation and how much they're going to let technology influence them.